That is important because that chunk of flesh comes up, and rather than wrapping perfectly, like we're so wont to draw, right? So there's just this perfect football shape with no variety. That the eyelid comes up and it hits that iris, and it bends around it, pushes around it, and comes back down, making the apex of the shape of the upper lid of the eyelid almost always off center, like not right in the middle, but pushed to one side like that. And it's because of that shape, that iris, the fact that it's coming off the eyeball that's pushing it out a little bit. The bottom lid too is going to have thickness. It's something to watch for. You'll always be able to see, almost always, light catching this bottom lid. It faces, oftentimes if our light source is high, it faces up, and light will catch the bottom lid, and then there'll be a shadow cast underneath that. Just watch for the thickness of the flesh. Watch for this shape too, how this upper eyelid, there's a lot of skin that comes out and is able to close down and then retract back up into this fleshy bit of ourselves that's just over the lid and underneath the eyebrow. But watch for this shape too, like watch for that thickness, and then watch for the beautiful way skin folds up and tucks up into that thing. It won't just be a perfect circle. It will have a lot of character. The angles will be nice and interesting. The skin you'll see places where it pinches and folds, where there's kind of a crease, a permanent crease that happens because that eyelid is going up into that space and then coming back down. The lids, the eyelashes, excuse me. Let me see here. Let's do another eye in profile and show you. The lids come right out of this end part, right? So if there is, let's do a view like this so you can see that thickness better. So if we're looking up, at an eye, or from the bottom up, right? The eyelids aren't going to come from like inside where they'll touch the eyeball. They come from this outside corner, this outside lip of the lid. And that way there's a nice slick, this inner surface is a nice slick surface to slide over your eye, and there's not hair. So in that illustration, I know that I kind of got in the way with it, but the hair comes out of the outside of the lid. Boy, I don't know. I mean, as far as mechanics of the eye and how it works, just look carefully at the eye, but notice the thickness of the lid. Realize and look for the protruding of the iris and how that affects the thickness of the lid and how it affects the shape of the eye. And then I guess the final thing is something that I think I already mentioned, that the eye in profile, if this is our eyeball in profile, it sets a little bit high in the socket so that that's why the shape of the eye that we talked about in the very first lecture is a pie shape with a longer side on top and a shorter side of the pie on the bottom. It's because this eyeball sits higher in the socket, and we're seeing kind of the lower half of the eyeball when we see the eye in profile. So making sure that that's not a perfect piece of pie like that with equal top and bottom but let me erase that initial one. Pulling that eye down a little bit and making sure that the eye sits up higher and that this top lid is out further than the bottom lid in profile is another thing to watch for as you do the eye. Let's actually talk about lips. There was the symbol that we showed earlier, right? Of these are lips. Really, lips can be broken down into planes realizing that they're three-dimensional, first of all, is the thing, that they're not a flat thing pasted on our model, that they're, rather than being flat, they're rounded, and that they work a lot like the eyelid, actually, that there's a thickness to them. It's flesh that protrudes, that sticks out, right? And that they wrap around our face. There's also this big, nice, chunky, meaty bit of flesh on the corners of our mouth. There's just a lot of fat and muscle and beautiful things that move our mouth that have mass and that are all around it. I don't know if that's helpful. It is basically the spatula principle that I learned all the way back in art school as well, that in order to draw a spatula, this communicates the idea of spatula much less effectively than this. And I know it looks way too chunky to slide under a pancake, but when you draw, you've got to emphasize and think about the thickness of things, that they actually have mass and weight and substance, right? And so lips are the same. Let me pull out my dark. Oh, whoa, just ripped a hole in that. Dark pencil to make sense of all that heavy stuff that I just drew. A lot of times I'll make lines that emphasize the three-dimensionality of the lips, because lips have those little beautiful little creases in them. And I will do that a lot of times on the bottom lip, is just show the roundness of it and how it's coming towards me right here. And then those contour lines follow the form that way and follow the form this way. The other thing to think about lips, like we said earlier, is that there's this front plane, these two side planes, and the same on the bottom. There's, super duper simplified, there's these two planes that push back on the sides, and there's that flat front plane on the front. Yeah, just kind of with the lips, I guess, think about the teeth as a huge eyeball. These are, that's not a very good. Let's do that again. The teeth are like this, a huge eyeball, and the lips have to wrap around them, mass that comes over them. Like so. One of my favorite things about the lips is this little rim. They're so ordered, they're so shaped that there's this little tiny piece where the lip actually ends and then our skin starts. There's this little hit of flesh that will catch light right there. I absolutely love that. I love this little bit of skin right here that catches light right at the corner of the mouth as well. One other thing to think about as you draw lips is that for whatever reason, they feel more pasted on if you really emphasize this top line. When you squint down at them, the most distinct, darkest value is this space between the lips. And so whatever you can do with this upper lip to soften it and to make it less outlined will really help